You're watching New Car Spin. This is the 2024 Toyota Prius Prime plug-in hybrid, and it even has a solar roof. More cool, no, actually probably less cool than the roof that's on this Land Cruiser. Anyway, I've had this car for 8 days, and I can tell you one thing is for sure. I don't think Toyota wants you to buy the Prius. So it looks like what they did was they gave it to the interns and they priced it so that you'd be like, yeah, right. And the first thing is right there. It's that button right there. See that? That's not a Prius. That's an SUV. That trunk release button, where'd that come from? There's just oversights galore in here. The other oversight is, let's turn this fan speed down a little bit. The other oversight is right here in this HVAC system. The Prius used to be a car that was like road warrior, fuel economy is great. You know, you can get great mileage. You can do road trips in it. Not necessarily great for road trips, but you can actually go far and go places on very little fuel. So you'd want passenger comfort. Not here. All we have is basically one temperature control for the whole car. And that's not all. If I show you the back, you'll be like, what? First off, there's a delay here on this. There we go. There are no air vents back here. So if you have little kids and you want to hop in this car and go places and, you know, spend less money on fuel. Wow, that's some serious thunder. I should get going. Essentially, there's no ventilation in the back, and I don't know why they don't have rear seat ventilation in a car like this, because what you pay for this car is $43,089. Let's think about that. You can have two base Corolla hybrids for that. You can have a base RAV4 hybrid for 40 grand. You can have a Highlander, not the Grand Highlander, which is worth, but you can have a Highlander for $43,000. So why would you spend $43,000 on a Prius? The worst part is this instrument cluster, because yeah, look, that's about what I see when I drive. I can't see the full thing, which drives me nuts. So what I see here, you know what I see? I see the bald guy that always sits in front of me at events. It's either the full Larry David or the full Walter White. Every time I get in this car, I'm like, would you just get out of my way? I can't see everything. And I have to like look up and look around. And if I'm changing lanes, it's just like, this thing's a mess. And it gets worse too, because I constantly look over here and try and reach for a volume knob. There really needs to be a volume knob here, and there isn't. The only cool thing is if I hold this button down, it actually turns the engine on to charge the battery. There we go. So you have the solar roof and you've got the engine. You don't actually have to plug it in. The beauty of a plug-in hybrid, though, is that you can park in an EV charging spot. Whether that EV charger works or not doesn't matter to you, because you can charge the car with your engine, and it would actually take you less time than it would to plug it in. So there's always that. This car not only misses the mark on the ventilation and the air conditioning and the visibility and the whatever that is down there, the mistakes. It has this feature here where if the car in front of you rolls forward, this red will glow to let you know the car in front has moved. Obviously, because your eyes are down here on your phone where they shouldn't be, and it's to get your attention to let you know that people are moving forward. That's what this car has evolved into with these interns or these focus groups. This car is no longer 43 grand for this. Here's the worst part. Let's just say you're driving along and you get some bugs on the windshield, like we have some dirt and stuff here, and you pull the paddle here to hit the windshield washer fluid. The passenger side's fine, but the driver's side is underneath and hits the arm of the actual driver's side wiper, right? So watch this. Whoops, that's the sorry. Where am I? Look at this. So how does the fluid get up here? It doesn't. Look at that. It's hitting the wiper arm. And the way press cars are delivered is the manufacturer has the car set up to the way it comes out of the factory. No dealer is going to make any tweaks. They're not going to do anything special. They're not going to give me a red herring. And what I see is an instrument cluster that is way too small, and no heads-up display, and then a wiper arm that blocks the actual washer fluid. And to me, that is a total oversight. That's what happens when you have interns who don't drive project managed cars. I don't know who's in charge of this thing. I don't know why it's such a mess, but the only thing that really hits well somewhat is this phone charger where the phone sits in here vertically. The problem is it's not empty. It should be a pass-through or something so that if I spill a drink or some french fries in here, it's not. Could you imagine what this is going to look like if your sister had this car? I mean, you know what I'm talking about? This is going to be a nightmare. I'm sure this is going to have to be updated. But essentially, what we're looking at here is a $43,000 car that Toyota doesn't want you to buy. And that's because you can buy a RAV4, you can buy a Highlander, you can buy the Camry for less than this. You can get the hybrid versions of those cars. And their profit margin on those cars is probably better than this car. Because remember, when they were selling these Priuses and the Lexus hybrid when they first came out, they were selling them at a price that was like at a loss, right? And manufacturers were like, how are they able to do the hybrid battery pack and the electric motor and sell it for less? Well, it's the same thing with Tesla. How is a Tesla Model 3 so cheap and whatever? But I look around here and I see like, okay, a JBL stereo, which actually isn't that great. I see a rearview mirror that turns into a camera system, which, no one, unless you're moving out of your dorm, no one's gonna have enough junk in here to block that rearview mirror view, because that trunk is tiny. It's a little hatch. So this is less usable than a CUV. It's more expensive than a CUV, and it's smaller inside than a CUV, and it has fewer features than a CUV, or a sport utility vehicle, or compact utility vehicle, however you want to call it. And here we are. We're missing a volume knob here because it's way over there, way beyond the driver's reach. Okay, so this is not a driver-oriented car. It's not a driver-focused car, clearly. And it's really not a good commuter car, because if your time is spent behind the wheel, that bald person in front of you is going to drive you nuts. And what else is going to drive you nuts? The volume knob will drive you nuts. The vented seats aren't really that powerful. They could be. I know they're possibly better. There's better seats out there than these vents right here that they put in here. I don't know why. So they're missing the mark at $43,000, and that's all you need to know. Get the Corolla, get the Camry, get the RAV4, get the Highlander. All of them are base price cheaper than this $43,000. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. It's like they threw all the interns at it. That's all I'm going to say. It looks cool on the outside, but on the inside, it's still just a Prius. It drives like a Prius, and I'm glad there's a charge mode, because it's the better way to go here. We have drive modes too: sport, normal, and eco. Eco turns down the air conditioning power, which makes sense when it cools down during a thunderstorm like this. We don't need the full AC going, but that's all we got. Little secret compartment, cubbies, hashtags everywhere. Clearly, the problem is, I don't think I'm getting too old, but I am getting old. And then the deal is here, there's nothing in here that really appeals to me, even though this is supposed to be a young person's car. And the famous Lee Iacocca has always said, was it Lee Iacocca or was it the other guy? The guy who did the Corvette, what's his name? From GM, who cares? The old boomer guy. He said, you can always sell an old man a young man's car, but you could never sell a young man an old man's car. And to me, this is like the cheap man's car, but not at $43,000. And how much money you're going to save on fuel to offset the extra cost of going for this whole high-end vehicle that's like 10 grand more. 10 grand more than a Corolla or a Camry bone stock hybrid. What is in here, okay, that's so premium, besides vented seats and a JBL stereo and this system that's almost in all the new Toyotas and almost every new car now when you're just using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay? What is so special in here that makes this car so expensive? I don't see it. I don't see it. Leave a comment and tell me if I'm missing something. It's not all these drive modes, because Toyota Safety Sense and stuff is built into all their new cars anyway. And yes, it'll self-park if you know how to use the system. And it has a heated steering wheel, which you won't use in Texas more than 2 weeks out of the year. So that's all I got. I'm not a fan of the Prius. I thought this one would be like game-changing, but that right there, no, absolutely not. Wait until you're driving through the desert and you hit some butterflies and they splat here, and you got the little butterfly outprint, you know, here and here and here and here, and you're like, oh, I gotta clear the windshield, and you can't, and then you gotta pull over, which you have to anyway because this fuel tank's only like 8.5 gallons. It's just a mess. It's a mess, and you won't enjoy it as much as you would if you had a RAV4 or a Camry or a Corolla. Okay, 43 grand. You know that Mazda 3 I drove, that Mazda 3 all-wheel drive turbo, which had balls on it but was missing a manual transmission? That was 38. $5,000 more for this. I don't see it. I don't see it. No vents in the back. Just no thanks. Hard pass. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.